Hi friends, welcome to the ET Retail Cafe, a new series, a new episode and a new retailer that we guys are covering today. So we are covering the story of Farah Malik today. Farah Malik is a very well-known name in the industry when it comes to the shoe industry in particular, footwears when we talk about. I mean, she's a third generation entrepreneur and we'll know from her how her grandfather started the Metro brand in 1955 and since then how it has come so far from 1955 to 700 stores, over 700 stores in 130 cities, more than 130 cities. Okay, so let's have Farah with us. And Farah, hi, how are you? So
very good, Charu.
So from you, I would like to know, actually, I could have also told about the story, but it's more candid when I get to know it from you. So tell me the story of Metro, how it started, how the values are flown down the generations, and it still stays to be an aspirational brand these days.
Right. So thanks for having us on, Charu. It's a pleasure. So we started, basically the brand started with my granddad. And at that time, if you see, all the main retailers in footwear took their names from cinema halls. So Metro Cinema, Regal Cinema, so that's where they got their names from. And that's how we got our first brand, Metro, on board. My father was he was actually a salesman in a shoe store on Grant Road. When he collected enough money, he ended up buying his own store, and that's how the brand started. Now, when he started it, it was all about, selling and very much a people's person. He knew how to say hello in, I think, 40 different languages. So it became like a landmark store. And in fact, people at that time when they came, they knew Metro, they knew Kalaniketan, and they knew Chiragdin. So those were the three main brands they would go to when they came to Mumbai city. It used to you talk about the top Bollywood actors and actresses at the time, whether it was Amitabh Bachchan, Govinda, Jaya Bachchan. Now they used to all come to the store. We had a lot of air hostesses and we had a lot of Parsis coming to the store. So that's our inflow of where we got our fashion from. And that's how the brand grew. In fact, at that time we had no fixed pricing. So pricing was on what sari is the woman wearing, and accordingly, if it's a chiffon sari or cotton sari, you quoted the price. My dad then joined that first store. He actually started in the top of the store, which we now call the Malia, which is a storage room where you see the shoes being thrown down. And he started there because it was very important to understand what the customer wants, and that person up there actually is an expert in what the customer wants. So we moved from there. He helped the brand grow into a couple of cities and actually become, a national brand. So he opened up outlets, how to take the passion of an entrepreneur and how do you get it in your other outlets as well. And I remember him telling us that, when he had this massive argument or debate with his father, and at that time they finally put down what are the core values that you want to continue if you want to open branches. One of them being entrepreneurs, because you won't have an owner sitting in every store. So, how do you ensure that you're motivating the manager and making him feel like the owner? Till today, all our managers are on a pure commission share. So they don't get any salary, they get a pure commission share, and that's why they are sort of empowered to take decisions as an owner would. So there were a couple of such factors that came into play. And he's grown the business beautifully. He's still very strategically involved with the business, and guides us. He always has our back, let me put it that way. And then I joined in 2000, and really it was all at that time, digitizing and all had just come in. So my first project was actually how do we have control over the inventory? Because at that time it was all manually done. So barcoding and getting to understand inventory was a big part of the role that we played. I of course came in for 1 year, not really wanting to join the business. I had a different plan for myself.
What do you wanted to do? If not the entrepreneurship, what were your aspirations?
So my passions were actually math and finance, and going into some role over there. Math is by far my passion. My dad said, how are you going to make that into a business, into a career? So I did finance to sort of augment it. But then came here and realized that I'm thoroughly enjoying myself and I'm learning every day on the job. And that really, I never looked back at the decision, no regrets at all. So joined the business there, we were small enough, so I got a great opportunity to learn all the various aspects of the business, and then slowly grew up the ladder before I became CEO.
Nice, very nice. So, you, being a third generation entrepreneur, you must have also faced some challenges, because if I talk to my grandfather, I mean, his thinking is different, my father's thinking is different, and my thinking is absolutely different. They say, what are you talking about? So, did you also face something like that?
So I think it's a combination of being third generation and a woman. So when I came in, to talk to a supplier and all, they won't really look at you because you're a woman. So you have to gain respect as a third generation, and you have to gain respect as a woman, because it was a very, very new thing. They'd actually look down and talk to me. It would be a very odd conversation. Should we go to her? Should we not go to her? It was a different, scenario at that time. But I think what really helped is that my dad has always allowed us to make mistakes. And he said, so long as we learn from them and move on, and we're not repeating those mistakes, it's okay. Because otherwise, how do you learn, right? And he empowered us a lot. Touchwood, even today, we have an excellent wavelength, the two of us. So even if we have to debate, either I have to convince him, he has to convince me. But then once we are on the same path, we make sure that we walk the path together. So I think that's been an excellent relationship that has really allowed me to be and take on responsibilities like I have. Of course, and family support. So my mom comes in there for sure.
So we all have moms who support us.
Absolutely. With 3 kids, you have no option to have a supportive husband, supportive parents, who will help you out over there.
So one thing I want to know, from first generation to second generation to third generation, the brand continues to be an aspirational brand. What are the values that you have weaved into the brand, that actually is continuing to be an aspirational brand from past so many years?
So I think that you've hit the nail on the head, that despite it being different generations, the core values on what we stand on haven't changed much. The customer is the focus of every decision we make. It's absolute, and we call it customer delight. It's not even the customer, it's customer delight. So even as a buyer in the company, your salary is based on the sales. Why? Because if the customer doesn't like what you buy, there's no point being a buyer, right? So everything is linked to sales. So essentially, customer centricity, full on, passionate about that. Even customer feedback and all, we still look at today. Like if both, whether it's me, my dad, my sister who are involved in the business, the entire management team will look at it. The second thing is, I think, the whole entrepreneurship and empowerment model. So I think so even today we have all our managers who've grown up the system. They've all become managers from inside the system. We don't hire. So all the 700 plus managers have grown up within. I think the whole idea of setting broad frameworks and then allowing people to play in that framework and empowering them to take decisions in that framework. So I think that's been a huge a value that we've kept. Integrity is very high, and I think the innovation, we allowing innovation to happen at all areas. So we allow the manager to try something new and come and share with us, and he gets awarded. It may be a small innovation that happens in this constant change, and if you can't adapt to that, it's, I think, going to be at your own peril. So I would say innovation in that way. I'm not just talking product way, but I'm talking in terms of process. And finally, passion for what you do. So passion for excellence. I think passionate people are what make or break any brand today.
True that.
So I think that's been, those are our core values.
So I have picked 2 points from what you said. Customer, you talked about.
Correct.
So customer engagement, you must have seen how it has changed from past, I mean, the day the brand was started until now. So how are the different ways that you guys do to engage, different things you do, the brand does to engage the consumers, to be honest?
So I think one thing, Charu, I can safely say that has not changed is the customer experience in the store. I think that is core. If you have a large offline brand, what really makes you want to go back? The way that you are served, the knowledge that that comfort to be able to walk into that store knowing that yes, the manager greets you, knows you by face, knows what you like, is able to help you out. I think that customer experience at the store is definitely important. It was very important before. It continues to be very important today, because you want that customer to be excited to be shopping offline. However, what we have done at the back end has changed a lot. So the ability for a manager today to know what is available in all 700 stores, something small like that. So to be able to engage the manager better, to capture customer information and utilize it. What do I want to do? I want to increase the frequency. I want to get a larger share of your wallet, right? Those are 2 things that I would like a customer to be more involved with. So what can I do to excite you to come back again more frequently, whether it's online, whether it's offline? And that customer experience as well has to lead to all channels of touch points, because today it's no longer just the customer walking into your store. It's on Facebook, it's on Instagram, it's everywhere that you go. The touch and feel of the brand has become a lot more omnipresent than it ever was. And how do you continue to say the same things and stand for the same things, whether you're on dealing with an offline or an online customer? I think that part has not changed. The way that we engage with them changes, but the fact that you want a very engaged customer is very important.
True that. So Farah, one more thing, you were talking about innovation.
Right.
The main innovation that you brought into the system when you joined Metro, you integrated online into the Metro brands, right? So what are the other innovations that you have brought into the system that it is taking the brands to new heights?
So I think even if you talk about omni-channel today, right? If you ask me, we were omni-channel in some way before everyone started, more than 10 years ago. Why? Because today, what is omni-channel? It allows you to sell your it allows you to light up your stores and sell merchandise that is otherwise not available in your single store. We used to have our managers accessing a company-wide product all through. So that's definitely an innovation. I think the innovation started as early as my dad, when we used to have non-air conditioned shops, and we used to have a glass shutter on the shoes because the dust would go and settle. So people would be like, how can you? No, but the person has to touch and feel the product. And they'd be like, how can you do that? It's all going to become dusty. So it's been, I won't say there's been a revolution, but there's been tons of evolution as we've learned. And it doesn't need to be only some learning from big competitors, but let's say you walk into a roadside shop today, the way they merchandise, the kind of colors they keep. I remember when we were selling our gladiators, our best selling style we picked up from the streets of Goa, because we loved the style. We came here, we innovated it, and we sold it. So I think that your ability to learn more and adapt is very important, more than what is going, because you can never predict what will disrupt you, but you do get information constantly thrown at you, and are you able to learn and adapt? And I think that's a very key quality today for any brand to have.
True. Technology is moving at a very fast pace. What if technology replaces your job? What will you do?
So I think more and more with the chat GPTs, and yesterday I saw an excellent program which is business AI. So literally it's telling me, okay, what are the overlaps with customers? What is Metro looking like online? What is Mochi looking like? Where is the overlap? What can I do differently for both? I think more and more technology has been fabulous. I think where we bring value is, okay, all this is thrown at you now, how is it going to improve my decision making? And that ability to decision make with the right data. I think that's the differentiation between us and today, because it's become so rampant. And if you actually see where it's all going, it absolutely right. It's going to disrupt the value that human beings bring on the table, And I think slowly we're seeing more and more of the simpler decisions are easily made by online. I mean, where to keep a product, which product is likely to sell in that store is all today, even in our system, is managed by machines. So where does the human being now start adding value, and how can we also retrain our team to have those qualities that will be valued in the next, I don't know when, in the next year, next 3 years, next 5 years, it's coming so fast. So it's just, all we can do is expose ourselves to whatever is out there, pick and choose what we think is relevant to the business, and at the end of the day, take every call with adding more delight to customers. I think if you have a framework like that, I think you can, sort of add value. But I won't be surprised if you have a robot sitting here tomorrow, or an android, or some version of this, having the interview with you.
So when we talk about technology, startups are the one who are actually investing a lot in the technology these days, and they are disrupting the category like anything. But when you talk about the traditional retail brands like Metro, which has been there from generations, these brands concentrate more upon scalability and profitability. So what do you think the startups are doing wrong despite disrupting the category altogether and investing in technology? what is one thing that is actually helping them not scale profitability and scalability?
So I think, Charu, I think you hit the nail on the head. You get a lot of new ideas from what startups are doing, and I think some of them are doing a fantastic job. But the sort of the importance you give to unit economics, right? The unit economics have to work. It's not like, okay, I'll get 1 million customers and then my unit economics are going to work. Either it's working today or it's not. Maybe I'm using a lot more for marketing or whatever I may be, but if you're not making profit from that single item or single service, you're never going to start making profit by scaling up. So somewhere that thought process of ensuring that your unit economics are right and ensuring that profitability is not a bad thing. If you can see, visibility to it, then it's okay. But I think a lot of them don't think that that's important, and that's where I think the scalability then becomes an issue, because nobody is going to keep pumping. Okay, let me put it this way. Most people will not keep pumping money if they don't see unit economics working. At some point it's got to break down. So I think if startups were to just get the basics right of the unit economics, then maybe when they scale up, they'll have more success at scaling up.
Right. I think the startups are listening to it and take some advice from Farah to add to how to change their business plans and business models. But when talking about business models, how many times have you tried to change your business model?
So there's a lovely quote by Peter Drucker actually. I'm going to read it out to you. Give me a second. I haven't memorized it, but it'll answer because it helps me a lot. It says the greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence. It is to act with yesterday's information. So I think the key is how do you adapt yourself, right? And for us, COVID was a huge opportunity again to relook at ourselves. I think one thing that, one biggest, I think, asset that my dad brings into the business is to constantly question, can we do things better? Can we do things better? And I think that, especially during COVID, gave us such an opportunity to completely blow up all our models and to relook at how do we want to structure the business differently, how do we want to address it differently. And I think today the fact that we can grow far more aggressively has come from some of the decisions that we made, because when you're growing you rarely have time to sit down and relook at the business or step back and relook at it. And I think that happened during COVID very beautifully, where we really remodeled. But I think that's happening even as we speak, Charu. As you're growing and as you get more removed from the customer, how do you ensure you're inculcating the right values in the people that will be close to the customer? And how do you also continue to have that kind of information? Simple thing, when you're 10 stores and you're looking at your data, you can look at every single thing for 10 stores. When you're looking at 700 stores, suddenly you have to manage by exception. What are the things that are not going right, so that you can only focus your time and effort? Also, we've had a lot of new brands that have come in. We've had BioFoot, which addresses the wellness model, which is really taking us down a medical path, so to speak. We've had Fila and Proline come into the into the whole group, which is addressing a different category. So we always sold sportswear, but not performance sports. So that addresses a totally different fashion and performance sports category. So as the business keeps evolving and keeps growing, we have to constantly look at, once a week we take an hour out every week just to see, is there something that we need to look at differently? Are there some new ideas that have come in that we can do something better? Do we need to get in the right, whether it means changing talent, whether it means changing structures, whether it means changing just the day-to-day operations and the way that you're looking at data also. So I think that's a constantly evolving. I don't think any business can say, okay, I've got it all right and I can sit back and enjoy the ride now. Because I think that's what sort of makes a business continue to grow and sustain itself.
So Farah, when we're talking about the future plans of the brands, how we're planning to change it, I would love to know from you, what have you not done in the business till now that you would love to see in the brand going ahead?
I think, so let me talk to you differently about different brands. If I look at Metro Mochi, like I told you, the customer experience and selling it was always what we were absolutely, known for. And we, in fact, our managers will tell you shoes are just an excuse to, to sell service. But I think more and more, product differentiation and investing more on the whole design aspect of the product is something that we want to focus a little bit more on. Like I told you, I think technology is disrupting parts of our business constantly, as well as disrupting our job, but also disrupting parts of the business. I think we need a lot more focus, not on building infrastructure for technology, but how we use technology in decision making, how we use technology to better the customer experience. I think that's an area that we really want to strengthen. And the last would be, I think, in terms of customer data analytics. I think we are still behind there. I think there's a lot more we can do with the kind of customer data that we do collect. How can I fine tune what I know about my customer? How can I own the shoe wardrobe of my top customers? And what do I need to do to ensure that I do? So, that kind of thing. So, really the fine tuning in terms of data analytics.
Which will help your brand to be there in everybody's home to be.
Exactly.
So, Farah, will you be getting the next generation also to take over to help you guys fulfill your dreams?
That's not my question. Actually, you should be asking that to the next generation. I think what we are definitely doing is ensuring that the business is sustainable, irrespective of whether the family joins or not. We've been lucky that we've had 3 generations. We hope 4th and 5th generation also continue to do it, but I will not make that demand today first of all, they're too young, but I also don't want to have that expectation or that demand on them. So what is the key that I need to do today? And that's really a pivot in my role today, is also ensuring that the business is sustainable beyond the family. And I think if I can accomplish that in the next 5 to 10 years, I think I would have, succeeded in my role today, ensuring that there's good succession planning, the good systems in place that it can run with or without, the next generation joining.
So you are actually paving a new path for the brand that ways.
I hope so. I hope so.
What keeps you motivated to come to office daily and make sure the brand is at the top?
So one, I'm super excited about the team I work with. I think they've done fantastically well. We've had a lot of churn, which happens with every company, but I'm really excited about the talent that I work with. So that's one thing that really motivates me and makes me passionate. I think at the end of the day, the company, you can say fortunately or unfortunately, is almost like a family member. We discuss it during the weekends, at nights, at meals, what happened, what can we do differently, what do we need to, keep working on. And I think it would be a big, void in our lives if we didn't have, the company to come to. Actually, today, if you see, our mission is get everyone on their feet. And I think whether it's the supply or whether it's, women empowerment, whether it is, just having the ability to change people's lives is a huge motivating factor for me. Because I think at the end of the day, yes, this is one vehicle through which I can do it, but there may be so many ways that I can touch people to improve lives, because I've, touch wood, been blessed with a lot in my life. And can I sort of pay that ahead?
So lovely, Farah, talking to you about all the brand, the learnings, and a lot many things. I would love to do a rapid chat with you where you don't have the time to think, and you quickly have to answer. Favorite brand or the retailer that you admire a lot, and why?
Apple, hands down. They've got me hooked. I can't seem to unhook myself.
Okay, which book, business book, do you love to read the most? What have you learned from that book?
So I would like to just answer that question slightly differently. I won't say business book. Two books that really changed the way I look at and run the company. One was the Rockefeller Habits, thin book, tiny book, but today a huddle in the morning for all our departments, for the entire company, is like something I learned from there, and I think it's still today I find value in it. Second, personally, would be Tuesdays with Maury, because it tells you have a finite time to live. What can you do differently in that time?
And two stories flowing simultaneously.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'd give you 2 books then.
Right. So for online or offline, where do you prefer to shop the most and why?
Depends on my mood. Convenience, definitely online. And then I don't look at pricing is not a convenience factor, right? I could be an expensive product, cheap product. If I need convenience and I want it quickly, I do it online. But if I want to enjoy the experience, it'll definitely be offline. So I'm totally both. I was a full offline shopper COVID made me a full online, and now I'm going back to stores because I'm enjoying that experience as well.
Because we are human, we want the touch and feel of the
and
objects.
you like to talk to people that you know in the store, who know what you want, who can curate it for you. So it's fun.
Next question. People know that Farah is a businesswoman. One thing that people don't know what Farah loves to do behind running a successful business.
So I'm a full nature outdoorsy person. I love my sports. I love playing throw ball. I love paddle boarding on a lake. So I love the outdoor. My happy place in my mind and physically would be by a lake.
Oh, nice. So last question from me. One advice that you would love to give to the budding entrepreneurs.
I think I'm going to borrow this from my dad because it's absolutely true, is that your attitude is extremely important. We strongly feel that, life will keep throwing you curveballs, but 10% is what happens to you and 90% is your reaction of how you react to it. And I think it's been played out multiple times in my life, at least, that if you have the right reaction to it, if you have the right attitude about the issue, the problems are going to keep coming, challenges will come, opportunities will come, but how can you control what you do about what is happening to you?
Thank you so much for your time, Farah. Thank you guys for watching this series, and we'll be back soon with the next episode. Thank you. Till then, bye.